Welcome, one and all, to V8's Online's live broadcast of the New Zealand and Australian iRacing Formula Renault 2.0 Championship. We're here at Phillip Island for the next round of the series, where hopefully we will bring some fantastic single-seater racing in the AusNZ community. My name is Reese Gardner, and joining me in the commentary box, Cameron Dance. Cameron, time to go racing at Phillip Island.
Yes, indeed it is. It's going to be hopefully a very, very exciting night of racing, being at Phillip Island and in open wheelers, so it's bound to be one heck of an awesome night.
Yeah, certainly is. We've got 25 laps of racing to complete tonight, and we are coming up to about 22 minutes to go in the practice session before we go into qualifying. And Bo Albert is currently topping the timesheets on a 25.082. Chris Burgess and Joseph Falcamata not far behind, though.
Yeah, definitely. It's looking fairly close at the moment between those top three, obviously being Bo at the top with a 25.082, and then Chris Burgess in second with a 25.174, and then Joseph Falcamata on a 25.191. So pretty close so far at the top of the timesheets as far as lap time goes. So hopefully it's going to be that close come race time.
Yeah, hopefully so. Well, Phillip Island, this track, I mean, what else can you say about it? It's one of the most famous Australian circuits, of course, Bathurst being an almost undisputed number one. But Phillip Island, built with the express purpose of being one of the fastest circuits in Australia. It certainly achieved that goal way back in the late 1950s when it was built, and this circuit has a super high average speed. And with the downforce of these Formula Renault 2.0 cars, even on a low downforce trim, you see these cars attacking the circuit at incredible speeds.
Yeah, definitely. It's a very exciting experience to drive a winged car around this track, being a lot of the circuit being high speed. So yeah, it's quite interesting, and turn one's going to be very interesting for these guys as well, as it's just about flat out in afternoon conditions, and late afternoon or morning it's pretty much flat out, but these guys may have to lift just a little bit to make it through, but if they've got enough downforce on, then it'll be pretty much foot down and pray for the best, really.
Yes, certainly, and of course, I think with this circuit, there's as you alluded to there, Cam, a possibility of setting the car up for downforce through those fast turns. But of course, there's a bit of a dichotomy here with a very long front straight, and of course, a couple of flat out sections from Siberia to Lukey Heights. Being one of them. You've also got a couple of overtaking zones here. You've got Honda, the hairpin, turn 4 at the start of the lap, and the third last turn from the end, MG corner. Downhill braking zone, super tight hairpin, but it's followed by an acceleration zone that goes through the last two turns, and then you've got the flat-out final turn, which is easily flat out in these cars, easily a place you can set up some passes, as we're seeing down the front straight now. Joseph Falcamata setting up a pass here on Hunter McElroy, and he's by before the first turn. Hunter follows him through the first turn, and he's got to lift a tiny bit, but you can always try and come back through this turn too here. Sticking to the inside. There's multiple lines possible through here. You can just stick to the inside all the way. You can late apexes of seeing Hunter doing a little bit of bump drafting there. But you can also double apex it. Go for that early turn in, run out wide during the middle, and then blast off on the exit. Wow, have a look at that pass that Hunter made there at Honda Corner. Fantastic stuff. Hopefully we see some of that in the race. Some really ballsy moves possible at this racetrack. Oh, and also the possibility of that sort of stuff happening.
Yeah, definitely. It's a lot of these corners you definitely have to focus on your exit and making sure you've got enough speed at the end of the straight to try and capitalize on the guy ahead. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it goes, and obviously with being with the draft playing quite the role, it's interesting to see with the aero push coming into effect as well.
Yeah, certainly will. Aero push, of course, being a defining factor of racing in this car at fast circuits. You'll definitely see it happen through turn 1 and 2. And I think there's also a fair possibility of it possibly happening through the last turn and through Lukey Heights as well, going over the crest of the hill. Of course, it's hard to pick out a line for that corner in any case, so Trying to follow a car with the aero push working as it does, it'll be a challenge. We're looking at Lewis Kugerly at the moment, in 6th place at the moment, currently on a flying lap. He's going through the flat-out left-hander Stoner corner, coming into Honda. Quite interesting how late you can brake for some of these turns.
Yeah, definitely, especially the hairpin. It's an interesting corner where you can really afford to kind of throw it up the inside if you're going to make a pass. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how these guys approach some of these corners.
Yeah, and going through Siberia right now, flat-out right-hander, and coming into Lukey Heights, multiple lines possible through this turn. Kugerly is going for the wide entry and just tapping the brakes, managing the throttle, sticking to the left-hand side of the driver's direction for MG. Then out through the last 2 corners, almost flat out there in Formula Renault car. I think that left-hander that he just went through, if you got your car set up right, it'll be easy flat out, but it's a challenge to get that power down.
Yeah, definitely. Another thing to note about this circuit is it is actually quite bumpy through some of the corners. So, yeah, these guys are going to kind of have to be a little bit careful in terms of when they put the power down, just to make sure that the car doesn't oversteer and snap and send them into the wall or off the track, which can possibly happen if they aren't careful.
Yep, Lewis Kugerly gone very wide in turn 1. I think he was attempting to experiment with some lines there. But a lap here in one of these cars is over in a flash. That was a minute 25.78 from Lewis Kugerly, and already he's round to almost the midpoint of the lap again.
Yeah, it's a very quick lap to get around this track in one of these small little single-seaters. So, yeah, I'd expect with this 25-lap race we've got tonight, it's going to be done fairly quick with the fact that they're doing 1 minute 25s and around that sort of area in terms of lap time.
Yeah, certainly, of course. Like with all races in this series, it's time certain to 45 minutes, but the lap count can vary. But I think we definitely will see the race go under the 45-minute mark.
Yeah, definitely we should do.
Lewis Kugerly coming through the final turn once again. A couple of these turns have a slight bit of banking to them as well. They follow the terrain, but there's a little bit of camber to a few of these corners as Kugerly goes to 25.9, obviously not helped by his mistake in turn 2. Let's have a look at how he goes on this one. Just kicking up a little bit of dust. And he sticks well to the inside this time round. That looked like a very clean line there.
Yeah, definitely, as he's gone very wide out of towards turn 3. But yeah, through turn 1 it is actually quite cambered, so you're pretty much able to use the track's characteristics to help you through the corner, whereas turn 2 is a little bit more interesting because it's a little bit off camber, so you've kind of got to be a little bit careful in terms of how quick you go into the corner, but also how early you get on the gas.
Certainly. Well, James Keane is currently on screen right now. He's sitting in 10th place on a 26.062. He's using the late apex line through turn 2. The Southern Loop is its official name. Another cool thing about this circuit that we note quite a bit. Whoa, hold on a minute.
Oh.
Goodness me. So that was Hunter McElry really testing the limits of what can be done into Honda corner there. Well, on that note, we'll have a look at Braden Bateman. Just coming out of, I forget the name of that turn. Siberia. That's Siberia. Oh yeah, this is Hayshed. Getting my corner names mixed up. Braden Bateman just coming out of Hayshed and going into Lukey Heights now. Jay Kennedy saying that, isn't it weird that he knows the names of the corners here and I don't? Well, yeah, fair enough. There is a first time for everything.
Yes, indeed. I actually...
But,
Yes, I do know this track as well quite well, and I'm not Australian, so that's another thing.
I blame my my full day at uni.
That's fair cool.
Braden going through the first turn, maybe a little bit of understeer through the latter part. Using quite a bit of that curb, sticking to the inside of the track like
glue. He's just about gone over.
Whoa.
That's a big crash.
Bloody hell. That's hopefully something that we don't see too much of in the race.
No, hopefully not.
Overcorrection from Lewis Kugeley resulting in a slide there. Well, I'm looking at Riley Blythe, who's just gone to 7th on a 25.728. Just completed another hot lap. And Riley Blythe, driver for Evolution Racing Team, he's certainly shown his worth as a driver in this series. Podiumed it at Zandvoort.
Yeah, he's done quite well, actually, so far this season with the podium at Zandvoort and the results he's had. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the rest of the season goes for him, considering he is also mainly a V8 driver for ERT.
Just come out of Siberia, and Siberia, one of those turns that's, once again, this seems like a very simple circuit on paper, doesn't it? You look at it from the air and you think, yeah, there's not that many turns. I think there's only about 11 around this place, but you actually go here, you actually see what you need to do as Blythe makes a mistake under braking, sailing across the apex turf.
An interesting line too, as well.
Yeah, certainly. He's managed to get it recovered, though, which is quite impressive. But Phillip Island is a deceptively difficult track. It's one of those tracks as Falcomata goes to the top. Multiple lines obviously possible through just about every turn here, and you really depend on your car's ability to get on the throttle smoothly here.
Yeah, definitely. It's a very driver's track, I think, in terms of that it's not really all about the car. It's more about where you position yourself and where you position the car so you can get that optimum lap time and also as best of a exit out of the corner as well, just so you can keep up with your competitors.
Well, Fulton Penny on screen right now. Fulton is in 9th place and, wow, involved in quite a nice scrap with his teammate Jordan McDonnell. They go side by side across the start-finish line.
Down towards turn 1, I'd say someone's going to back out of it here, and Fulton does.
Yeah, if you're brave enough, you can go side by side through turn 1.
Come back at him, actually.
Oh, yeah.
So that's another thing to point out. You can actually think about it ahead of time and actually get a run on the guy out of the corner if you're smart about it.
Yep, as Fulton Penny demonstrates right here, but he's lifting off. Got a car in the way, though. I think that's Kugeley. But a really spirited maneuver from both of these drivers. Nice side-by-side running. They're putting on a good show here in the dying minutes of the practice session. Whereas Riley Blythe goes to 2nd, we're just hearing, a 25.013. The times up at the top are very close.
Yeah, definitely. Guys have actually managed to get into the high 40, or 24, sorry, not 40s. We're not that slow around here. Yeah, Falcomata obviously with a 24.982 and Riley Blythe with a 25.013. So these guys are definitely starting to pull some lap times out. Obviously, slipstream and draft obviously having a little bit of an impact around here, a bit more than what you normally have it somewhere else. But yeah.
Bo Albert on screen at the moment. Albert has been bumped back to 3rd due to the efforts of Blythe and Falcomata. The top 7 currently separated by just under half a second here at Phillip Island, which around a track with such a high average speed is quite impressive for the drivers to be that close in these cars, because I think the field in this championship it's sort of between close and spread out. Like the drivers get competitive with each other, And often we see drivers making mistakes in these races that brings quite a bit more action into the mix. But oh, Riley Blythe to the top on a 24.8. That's impressive.
Ooh, that's quick.
And he promptly pulls over and escapes back to the garage. My work is done, he says.
Yes, very quick lap time there.
Well, before we get into the qualifying session, I just wanted to bring up the matter of the championship standings for this series. Currently, Dylan Shepherd is leading after the last round. And one thing that I am noticing is it's very much a game in this series of keeping yourself consistent. You gotta make sure that you continue to get yourself in those high positions, but don't take too many risks, because looking at those drivers' standings, the amount of drivers, I think just about every driver in the series, bar a few, has a 0 next to their name at some point in the standings. So it's all about minimizing your mistakes and making sure that you pick up those championship points. And Dylan Shepherd, despite being a non-scorer at round 3, is leading the championship by 26 points from Scott Newton. As we hear that Dylan Shepherd's coming out for his first lap.
Yeah, indeed he is. But anyway, yeah, it's definitely all about consistency with the championship at the end of the day. You can't expect to win it in the first round or before the halfway point unless you've absolutely dominated it. But yeah, it's going to be all about making sure you finish the races and have consistently good results as well, to make sure you're going to be up the front, pointy end come the end of the championship, as Dylan's obviously proved so far. Even though he's missed or DNF'd round 3, he's still managed to prove that even with decent results, you can still get towards the pointy end of the championship.
Yeah, certainly. I'm just looking at the broadcast chat. Dusty Robertson saying it's more of a MotoGP course, I'd say. Well, yeah, Phillip Island, in fact, is a MotoGP course used for the Australian Grand Prix and the Motorcycle World Championship, so right on the money there. Phillip Island has a good history of motorbike racing as well as racing on 4 wheels, so yeah, it's definitely got that motorcycle circuit atmosphere, hasn't it? Those lovely flowing turns, you know, not too many reservations taken with respect to tarmac runoff areas and the like. It's still a circuit that hasn't become completely sanitized.
Yeah, definitely. As far as I'm aware, the track was actually created for the Australian Grand Prix, Motorcycle Grand Prix, that is. So, yeah, it's quite an interesting track, and definitely also quite interesting to drive around in, well, ride around on a motorbike from looking at onboards on YouTube. So, yeah.
Yes, indeed. I actually have a cousin who is really into her motorbikes, and on a trip over east, I'm in Perth, she went over to Phillip Island and had a good ride around the circuit, and she absolutely loved it. It was a fantastic experience. I just wish I could go over there and sample the track myself. Yeah, one day.
Hashtag soon. Yeah.
Was that Jay whispering in my ear just then? Goodness me. I must pay more attention to who's lighting up in Discord. Kurt Stenberg starting a lap right now. And Kurt Stenberg, part of the Trans-Tasman Racing Rising Stars outfit, another West Aussie.
He's actually got one of the new TTR skins that Custom Image Concepts made up the other day, so it's good to see that out on track as well.
Yeah, certainly is. Some really good paints coming out of that outfit for Trans-Tasman Racing. I especially like the Momo one. It looks very nice.
Yes, indeed it does. It looks very, very simplistic, but very, very nice indeed.
Yeah, I think especially with the way graphic design language has evolved in the 2010s, simplicity is really having its day right now. And, you know, a car livery, it doesn't have to be complicated. You just need to put the right shapes in the right places, and you got yourself a memorable livery. And those Trans-Tasman Racing ones, they're definitely looking like that.
Yeah, definitely, for sure.
Well, Stenberg just came out of MG corner and is making his way around the final turn for hopefully an improvement on his current 19th place in the practice session. Now it's just a waiting game up through the last couple of gears for him down to the start-finish line, and is going to be a 26.024. That bumps him up to 15th. Wow, flat through turn one.
Ooh. I think I know why, because the track's actually not too warm today, so that may be helping.
Yeah, we've got a 26 degrees Celsius track temperature right now with 18 degrees air temperature. So the drivers do have a bit more grip at their disposal, but nonetheless, very strong wind as well we're hearing. That's it's southwest, 25 kilometers an hour. So it's blowing up the front straight.
Ooh, that could be quite interesting.
That'll definitely help with the draft, won't it?
Definitely. And it'll also help keep these guys, well, help these guys go flat into turn one as well, because they won't be carrying as much speed into the corner.
Yeah, nothing like a good headwind to up the courage factor. As we see Stenberg.
Whoa, that's a moment.
Big over rotation in Lukey Heights, and he's going to go straight into the wall.
Yeah, you kind of have to be careful with that rise part of Lukey Heights. The car does actually get a little bit of air underneath that rear end, so it does tend to get unbalanced over that rise.
As we see Lewis Kugerly and Chris Burgess coming together slightly. But yeah, I see your point there, Cam. Also, the nature of that high curb on the left-hand side at Lukey Heights. It starts out flat, but then it goes into a more traditional raised curb for the middle of the corner. Phillip Island has a bit of a variety of curbs around the place, but you touch that curb even slightly in the wrong place at the wrong time, and you have a very hard time getting that car back under you.
Yeah, definitely. It's quite a large curve for these small cars, and with the monoshock at the front, it doesn't help either. So yeah, you kind of have to be a little bit careful over the curbs and bumps here with these small cars.
Hunter McElroy to 13th right now, as the top 13 are separated by less than 7/10 of a second. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, definitely. It's very, very close at the moment. So it's very good to see, and I reckon it's going to be very close come the race.
Yep. But right now, qualifying is go. So the qualifying session has ticked over, and we will get to see how the starting grid forms over the course of the next 15 minutes. As we see leading the charge, looks like Lewis Kugerly leading the way. So making their way around the outlap, these guys will want to get a good amount of space between each other, but you don't want to be too far behind the car in front, because draft is very important here at Phillip Island. Of course, raising the point again about that headwind down the front straight. You get tucked in behind another car, that headwind basically disappears, and you get a huge, huge run. So that'll pay dividends in terms of lap time.
Yeah, definitely. And from looking at the practice times, with the top 20 just within 2 seconds, well, I'm trying to put my words into words here. Yeah, with the top 20 separated by just over 2 seconds, it's going to be interesting to see how qualifying goes.
Yeah, certainly will. Interesting thing to note would be how close those practice times are to qualifying times. Well, We'll find out in the course of the next minute and a half or so, as Lewis Kugeley is now crossing the start-finish line to begin his first hot lap.
And he's got Chris Burgess not too far behind as well, so Burgess might get a little bit of a draft here.
Yeah, Lewis Kugeley, of course, having all the front grip that he has available at his disposal into the turns. No one in front of him to disturb that aero. He is coming up on a bit of traffic, though. Lance Perkins just up ahead. So Lewis ran a little bit wide through the hairpin there, but you can afford to run wide. Oh, he's looking very twitchy in the middle of Siberia, and he's going to pull over. So Chris Burgess continuing on. So for this lap, we'll take a look at Jordan McDonnell going through Hayshed just behind AJ Bear. Oh, have a look at the rear end bounce around. Tell you what, McDonnell must have a huge amount of confidence in the rear end of his car if he's throwing it around like that.
Yeah, by the looks of it, he does. So it's going to be probably quite a decent lap here.
Yeah, well, the first proper lap times are going to start showing up in just a second. As we see AJ go to the top, Jordan McDonnell managing a 26.0, Riley Blythe to the top on a 25.202.
Wow, but not too far behind. Second with a 26, 9.3, so it's an ERT 1.2 at the moment.
Yep, currently looking at Josh Burden for Fusion Sim Racing. As James King goes to second, Josh Burden, familiar in real life with Phillip Island. He works with a Formula V team in Tasmania who occasionally jumps across the straight to race in Victoria at Phillip Island. Through the last turn he goes, just a little on edge, those rear tyres. So the first proper lap time from Burden, we'll see what he can do here. I know that he is a fan of the Formula Renault. That's going to be a 25.305. That puts him third.
And only 200ths off Keen's time as well, so that's extremely close.
Oh, that's 2,000ths, Cam. That's even closer.
Yeah, it's very close.
As Mitch McLeod goes to fourth on a 25.606, we see more shuffling back in the field. I think Lance Perkins just went to eighth. Fulton Penny, meanwhile, slowing down there to... Who's that he's letting by? Hunter McElroy, who is currently the last on the timesheets. So Hunter has a bit of work to do. Obviously, the time that is on the board for him now as he's struggling to keep that rear end under control into MG, that's an outlap time. Phillip Island is one of those circuits where the start-finish line is around about where the pit exit is. So the first laps you end up doing in a session are often just the times that you set on your outlap and are not properly representative of your pace. But McElroy is going to set a 25.8 and go to 10th. Very good lap there. Yeah. So just about to start another lap and try to consolidate his current P1, Riley Blythe. He's currently a 10th in hand ahead of James Keen. We'll see what he can do on this lap. He is not going to have the assistance of any draft on this lap. I think if you're able to get it just right around this circuit, the draft is probably worth about 3 or 4 tenths. Chris Burgess top, a 25.167. So Riley Blythe has a goal now. There's 2 tenths separating the top 7. Mitchell McLeod has gone to third meanwhile. Keen to third as well. Actually. By 1,000th of a second, as you do.
and he's 100th off Riley Blythe. So it's extremely close so far, and we're pretty much just under halfway through the session.
Yes, we are. Riley Blythe just twitching a bit out of Siberia. So in order to retake pole position, as we've passed a third of the way, we're almost halfway through the session now. Meanwhile, Josh Burden goes to the top on a 25.123, and down in 15th and 16th place, 16th and 17th, sorry, Kurt Stenberg and Dylan Shepherd have the exact same time. How cool is that?
It's amazing. It's very impressive to see when that happens, as Ryan goes straight to the top of the 24.913.
So this is a real full-on battle for pole position here in the Formula Renault Championship. Chris Burgess, meanwhile, has got a draft here through the first part of the lap. Jordan McDonald just ahead of him.
Like, Chris actually has a little bit of front wing damage on the right-hand side of his car, so might be affected a little bit here.
Yeah, seeing McDonald just blinking slightly in front of him. Is he going to attempt a pass here? Not sure. Really getting close to each other, these guys. So now it's through these next few corners that Burgess will really feel that, oh, it looks like he's pulled over and just going to have another crack. Joseph Falcamata about to start a flying lap, we're hearing, for KRF Motorsports. Falcamata was the second quickest in practice, so he's definitely capable of challenging for pole position here.
Yeah, he definitely is. Obviously, just over a tenth between himself and Riley Blythe in practice. So if he can find a little bit more pace, or a bit of a moment through Southern Loop there.
Yeah, it's very hard to keep it together through Southern Loop, you know, like coming over that rise, the car is fully loaded on the right-hand side, and, well, the tyres have just, the right-hand side tyres have had a whole straight and turn one to cool down. So, oh, goodness, Falcamata almost wiping out McLeod. So now the top 10 are separated by just under 4/10.
And the top 17 separated by a second.
So time's very close at Phillip Island tonight. Staying for now with Mitch McLeod as he goes through Hayshed around the back section of the circuit. How's he going to go through Lukey? This is an interesting corner too. It's you stick to the inside, but then you sort of go out wide. Oh, spinner in front of him, AJ Bear. McLeod keeps it together though.
A little bit of traction loss there on the exit of MG.
Yeah, and he lost a bit of front end grip as well as Dylan Shepherd goes to fourth. So what kind of lap time is this going to be for McLeod? He's currently in 6th place on a 25.233. This is going to be a 25.286, so no improvement. Riley Blythe, though, wow, that time, 24.6.
That is very quick.
Very impressive from the ERT driver. So I guess a close field should be amended to a close field from second back.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be very, very much a close race. Although that said, come the race time, the draft is going to have a lot bigger impact as well because they're going to be much closer together. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, it certainly is. Dylan Shepherd on screen going through Hayshed and, oh, sorry, Lukey Heights. I'm a corner behind myself here. Went a bit wide through Lukey, but that's recoverable. It's actually kind of good to run a bit wide through the center of Lukey because it allows you to come back to the left-hand side of the circuit for a better entry to MG more quickly. Shepherd out of the final turn. Can he improve on his 4th place? It's a 5-2, so it's not going to be an improvement. He might go for another one, though. That's the thing with this championship that we've seen from the very start, is drivers have often gone on multiple lap runs. Lewis Kugeley, we're checking out right now, going through the final turn. But McLeod goes to 2nd now on a 25-0.
And then that's very close, actually. It's only, Hunter McElroy to 4th with the 25.049, so it's very close at the top.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Well, I think one driver that we're going to have to keep an eye out for is Joseph Falcomata. He was the only other driver other than Riley Blythe to get into the 24s in practice, so I'd watch out for him.
Yeah, definitely. He's going to be very quick in the race, and he's got clear track at the moment, so it's going to be a very quick one, possibly.
Yeah, it looked like a very clean exit there from Siberia. Into Lukey Heights he goes, a nice and smooth line, just braking in the middle of the turn. Riley Blythe and Mitch McLeod, meanwhile, both done for the session, so it's up to Falcomata to respond to that and make good on the promises he wordlessly made during practice. But it looks like a very smooth lap from Joseph Falcomata so far. I think he's gotten a handle on that car. We'll see what kind of time he can do here. Falcomata, a 25.46, so in 13th for now. So Hunter McElroy, meanwhile, goes to 2nd just behind him.
Yes, with a 24.870, so he's only 2/10 off Riley Blythe.
Yes, indeed. And it looks like Chris Burgess is just about to either start or finish a hot lap.
Looks like it's going to be finishing one by the looks of it.
25.7, so once again, no improvement. That's no good. So, we're seeing just getting out off the racetrack Lance Perkins. As McElroy, we just saw looping it in the background there. So Lance Perkins in 9th in the session right now. A little off his fastest practice time.
He's not doing too bad at the moment. This is possibly going to be a little bit quicker.
Yep, he has got a bit of a draft ahead of him. That's Falcomata just ahead of him. What kind of time is Falcomata going to do? A 25.7 and a 25.4 from Lance Perkins. So no improvement from either of those guys. We're going back now to Josh Burden, who's making his way over the rise near the end of the lap once again. Nicely over the curb. And the checkered flag is now out in the session, so this is going to be Josh Burden's final chance to assault the pole position. He'll have quite a few tenths that he needs to make up, though. It's going to be a 24.894, so he goes to 3rd. And Mitch McLeod we're focusing on now. He is currently on his final hot lap of the session. Oh, and he's gone way wide through Hayshed. Falcomata, though. What can he do in these dying moments? A 24.9 was what he did in practice. Currently in qualifying, he's done no better than a 25.46. So we haven't seen the first part of this lap, but he'll be hoping that he has done enough to try and get up there in that top 4, maybe top 3. 25.6. So unfortunate for Falcomata, but he'll start the race from 13th position. And I think that is everyone in the session at the moment. So, this is your starting grid. for round 5 of the New Zealand and Australian iRacing Formula Renault 2.0 Championship. Riley Blythe is your pole position sitter. Hunter McElroy just behind him in second, with Josh Burden being only the third driver in the 24s in third place. Mitch McLeod in fourth, Chris Burgess fifth, sixth Dylan Shepherd, and the top 10 is finished by James Keane, Lewis Kugeley, Lance Perkins, and Bo Albert.
From 11th to 20th, we have Jordan McDonnell, AJ Beer, Joseph Falcamato, Kurt Stenberg, Fulton Penny, Braden Bateman, James McKee, Tommy Harradine, Harley Haber, and Griffin Gardner rounding out the top 20.
Yep, and the field is rounded out by Brodie Whitmore, the first driver in the 1 minute 26 range, with Jamie McKnight in 22nd, 23rd Aaron Wilton, Mark Turner, the last driver to set a time, and we have Benny Giel and Nick Craddock taking up the rear of the field. So now we wait for the next couple of minutes for the green flag to fly in the race as the drivers grid up.
Yes, indeed. One thing to note about this grid actually is that the top 15 are separated by a second, and from 1st to 22nd is separated by 2 seconds. So it's a very close and very compacted grid.
Yeah, it certainly is. Absolutely fantastic to see that this series is still so competitive at the midpoint of the season. So, Evolution Racing Team currently at opposite ends of the top 10. And I'm sure Bo Albert will be wanting to make a few moves up in the field. But of course, we talk a lot about turn 1 in this series, Cam. Phillip Island is a bit different to other racetracks. Its turn 1 is very open and fast, but almost inversely, it seems to make the start here a little more precarious compared to other tracks.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be interesting to see how it goes heading into turn 1, with it being obviously a little bit cambered, but obviously these guys are probably going to spread out quite a bit. So hopefully we don't see any accidents or too big of risks into turn 1. And also these guys are going to have to remember that they've got cold tires and the track's also cold. So that's not really going to help too much.
Nah, it certainly isn't. Well, it looks like all the drivers are now on the grid. Also, you got to remember, from about the second row back, the start is slightly uphill with the rear of the field going downhill, but the lights are up. That will certainly be a factor when these drivers get off the grid. The revs are rising. We're going to wait for the green flag to go. We are green, and it looks like Riley Blythe just missed the start, but on the second phase, he's really gotten it out of Hunter McElroy as Josh Burden is now challenging for second place. Coming down into the first turn. Will we see any spinners?
Someone going 3 wide in the background. Jeez.
Oh, and it looks like we got a car off.
Off.
Yep, Kugeley is now off, and this is precarious. Re-entering the track in the middle of turn 1. The drivers behind him are going to have to watch out.
Oh, cold tires, boys.
Brodie Whitmore. Oh no, we got a smash Tommy Harradine going round. We've got a couple of drivers off there actually. That was Harradine along with James McKee and Benny Giel. A change for the lead, though. Looks like... Oh, Riley Blythe back through, though. Oh, huge crash at the hairpin. Oh, who was involved in that? The field is backed up massively. Oh, it looks like Harradine and Giel are still getting to get AJ Bear involved in that. It looks like we've got a car going slow out of Siberia. Harley Haber. Another car going slowly through Hayshed, Brodie Whitmore. So a couple of drivers having big dramas on lap 1.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate, especially for some of these guys who qualified actually quite far up the grid as well.
Yeah, well, Riley Blythe versus Joshua Burden now at the front, and Burden has got the mother of all drafts down the front straight, but that headwind is going to come into play here. The rate at which he's catching Blythe is slowing. He is now officially in the lead. Is he going to try and take it?
Oh, here we go. Around the outside, side by side. Oh, this is
Blythe has the grip.
About.
Oh, we got another car off. Shepherd's off.
Shepherd's off.
Same style and place as Kugali, and it looks like the drivers around him have managed to avoid him. Bo Albert now taking advantage to try and get by him, but up at the hairpin, we'll see what happens with respect to the lead. Riley Blythe protecting the inside against Josh Burden, and look, Mitch McLeod and Hunter McElroy are in this as well.
Yeah, it's on. Bo Albert's gone around in the background as well.
No, real shame for Bo. He is not having a very good event so far.
McElroy's off.
McElroy running wide in Siberia.
Oh, he's holding on to it just.
We got a replay of that up on screen, a Cut Price Racing replay of the incident that Bo Albert went through. That's a real shame for him, spinning twice. Wow. Like he actually caused contact with two cars there, so unfortunate for Bo Albert. But back to the front, we're live once again, coming out of the final turn. The drivers are going to come round to start lap 3, and this is going to be a repeat of the last lap. Josh Burden getting a huge draft early on down the straight. Is he going to be able to get by before turn 1? I don't think he will. It's going to be side by side for the lead, as McLeod sets the fastest lap of the race on that lap.
Double draft, so that'll be why.
26.064 from McLeod, but the top 3 have certainly broken away.
Yeah, definitely they have, and it's very close as well. Only a couple of car lengths between each car. So staying in that draft is going to be very important for these guys.
Yep, James Keane won't be much liking how far McLeod is in front of him, because Keane is currently starting to face pressure as Shepard goes past Lance Perkins, who spins, and it's a bit of synchronized spinning there. Hunter McElroy as well. Tell you what, Hunter's been having a little bit of trouble in this race trying to get his car under him, and it looks like McElroy is out of the race. He's escaped off the track. We've got a Cut Price Racing replay of that bit of action for you. Looks like a fairly typical case of just losing the rear end under brakes. Back live though. Josh Burden versus Riley Blythe once again. This is it's happened every lap, hasn't it? Something's happened. Yep. We've come back, and the battle for the lead is on at the end of the lap.
It's like McLeod's also fallen away a little bit, so could possibly just be these two for the lead, and Burton's going to try and go around the outside again. Yep,
he's trying to stay in that draft for as long as he can, try and slingshot past Blythe, but once again, Blythe is going to have the inside line for turn 1.
Not quite.
That inside line through turn 1 is where all the grip is, but Burden almost having a look into Southern Loop. Both of them kick up a bit of dust on the exit of the turn. Might we see Burden go for a move at Stoner Corner? Blythe is going to protect the inside. It's all about braking down here. Looks like Blythe has been able to hold it. And McLeod running a bit wide in the background there. So now it looks like a top 5 train is formed here.
Yeah, it definitely has by the looks of it, which is quite nice.
So Blythe v Burden once again, and you can see both of them struggling for grip. Burden with the front, Blythe at the rear. Tiny bit of over-rotation, but meanwhile, back at the back of the top 10, Lewis Kugali and Kurt Stenberg are having a good battle of their own. It looks like behind them there's even more going on. Lance Perkins and Brody Whitmore incredibly close as well. Meanwhile, Burden into turn 1 on the outside again. Oh no, he's behind Blythe, and there's a car stopped at pit exit. That's AJ Bear. So now, looks like the top 5 have morphed once again, and Mitch McLeod's fallen further back into the clutches of Keane and McDonnell. So that might become a 3-car train of their own. Jordan does the fastest lap of the race. Yep. Can James Keane hold it, though? Oh, they almost bang wheels. James Keane having to take to the AstroTurf to avoid that. Looks like James Keane is running an Arrows F1 tribute livery, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's actually quite nice to see some of these guys running classic Formula 1 liveries on these smaller open wheel cars they actually suit the cars quite well actually, which is quite interesting. But nevertheless, good, nice skin, and hopefully it doesn't make the car as slow as what the actual orange arrows were.
Yeah, certainly. Well, Keane is currently up in 5th place, so I don't think there's any worry of that. But Perkins and Whitmore, another interesting clash going on here. In the background, we've got Joseph Falcamata trying to make his way up. Or is Falcamata a lap down? He is. That's unfortunate. Looks like James Keane has fallen back, meanwhile, from McLeod and McDonald.
Actually get past me.
Yeah.
McLeod as well. So McLeod's now on for a podium here.
Direct is currently breaking up, unfortunately. We can't quite hear what's happening, but we'll endeavour to find the pass.
The inside at turn 1.
So a cut price replay of that pass that McDonnell did on Mitch McLeod.
Haber's had a big moment as well further back in the field, actually.
Having a look at a little bit further back in the field, Harley Haber had a rather large incident. We've got a replay of that up now. Looks like just got loose coming out of turn 1 and then, wow, vaulted the banking. It's on for the lead, though. Josh Burden, once again, trying to make a move on Riley Blythe. He's just a little bit ahead. Can he hold it around the outside? No. Once again, he can't. Blythe is just protecting that inside line perfectly.
Yeah, he is actually, and he's doing a very good job at it as well. So it's going to be interesting. Although, if Josh can think about this a little bit, what he might be actually able to do is get enough draft so that he can pull out just at the right time so he can get ahead and make the pass stick around the outside at turn 1, as it is actually possible to do.
Yeah, it certainly is. There's even a tiny
Shepard's off in the background as well.
Oh dear.
He's just lost it into the hairpin there, apparently.
Fairly big moment there. Cut price racing replay of that on screen. Looks like Shepard just hit the curb at the wrong time. A little bit of a compression lock-up, and around he went.
Yeah, indeed, that's really unfortunate. He was actually doing quite well, actually, and being the championship leader, it's not going to really help him too much.
Well, the top 5 have stayed pretty much glued together on the same piece of track. Every lap so far. Excellent scraps going on all throughout the field as we see Braden Bateman off the track. Rather unfortunate. Got a cut price replay of that coming up. It looks like he was involved in a battle with Kurt Stenberg. They went side by side through the Lukey Heights, and looks like Braden just locked up and lost it. Back alive once again, up at the front. It looks like Burden is almost alongside Riley Blythe. Oh, really liking this. Blythe just staying in the middle of the track, making sure that Burden doesn't quite have anywhere to go. It looks like in the midst of all that, McLeod's gone back by McDonald.
Well. Yeah, indeed.
Just happened at the hairpin. Looks like McDonald's going to try and come back at him through Hayshed, though. Have a look at this. They're going side by side through Hayshed. Ooh.
Ooh.
McDonnell having to wind out of the steering a bit. They're going to go side by side through Lukey.
Oh, this is going to be interesting.
Yeah, we'll see what happens when they come down to MG. Oh, McDonnell twitching.
That actually got around the outside.
Oh, McLeod's run wide and MG. Again. Oh, is McDonnell going to go for the over-under coming out of this turn? No. Looks like McLeod's just gone for... Oh, look at the draft that McDonnell's getting already through the last turn. Is there going to be a bit of bump drafting? Well, looks like... Well, we've seen what Blythe and Burden up ahead are doing through turn 1. It looks like McDonnell might just get the move done here on Mitch McLeod. Yeah, McLeod... Yeah, falls behind. Meanwhile, Kurt Stenberg and Brody Whitmore side by side coming into turn one. Oh, so close.
Just outside.
And just behind them is Falcamada, who is once again a lap down. Burden, meanwhile, close to Riley Blythe up at the front. Oh, have a look at Burden under brakes at MG. Meanwhile, Chris Burgess has caught Dylan Shepherd. They're battling for 6th place right now.
Yeah, Burgess obviously going to have the draft here coming onto the front stretch.
On board with Burgess right now as they come out of the last turn down the straight. Look at the draft that he's got. Wow, big run here. Shepherd staying to the middle of the circuit. Burgess is almost past before turn one.
Shepherd's going to have the inside, and Burgess is going to try go around the outside, and he's managed to hold it, and he's going to go up the inside at Southern Loop. Just a bit of contact.
Oh, goodness me. Burgess almost making side-by-side contact with Shepherd, trying to get that optimum entry. And looks like something's happened to Josh Burden.
Loop, apparently.
Yeah, run wide in Southern Loop. We're going to get a cut price replay of that moment. Yeah, looks like he went through the first part of turn one all right, but I think he just got on the throttle a little too early and then just went out into the gravel trap. Did well to hold it, though. Back live, though. Ooh. Thought I saw a lock-up back at MG Corner. McDonnell, McLeod, and Keane is where the battle's at the moment in the top 5. Mitch catching at the draft massively, Jordan McDonnell.
If he can get it. Ooh, McDonnell with a bit of a wiggle there under brakes and in the Southern Loop. If McLeod can get a good enough run, he may be able to make a move here at the hairpin.
It doesn't look like he's going to be able to get the run, though.
Yeah, not quite close enough. Oh, Burden and Blythe locking up into the hairpin there. Bit of smoke being puffed up.
Yeah, certainly is. Well, I think Riley Blythe is not feeling the pressure as much as he was before now. Burgess, meanwhile, and Shepherd, they haven't exactly spread apart either, as we see Tommy Harradine's had a spin and now he is in the pits.
Oh, he's actually had quite an off as well, and he's made the wall out of the Southern Loop as well.
That is a fair whack. Meanwhile, 3rd, 4th, and 5th still very close together. We're on lap 12 now, just about at the halfway point of the race.
Yes, race has actually gone by fairly quickly, actually, only 18 minutes in at the moment, so it's gone by pretty quick. Oh, McDonnell getting it, that rear and just starting to get away from him a little bit there.
Yeah, looks like watching McDonnell as McLeod gets a draft. I think McDonnell's got a very aggressive rear end on set up on his cars. McLeod just backing out of a move. There's obviously no need to go for a huge overtaking move at the hairpin at this point in the race, and McLeod knows it. Back in the background, though, James Keane is just hanging on to all of this.
He's not quite close enough to latch on as far as the draft goes, but he's just got enough pace to be there in case of if these two make a mistake or do something silly.
Yeah, have a look at McLeod though. This is the beginnings of a drafting move right here, coming out of the penultimate turn.
Yeah, McLeod should be able to make a move at turn 1 here fairly easily. He's going to look to go to the inside on Jordan McDonnell here, so head towards turn 1, and he's actually just pretty much managed to get it past before they even get turn 1.
Yep. Riley Blythe, meanwhile, set the fastest lap of the race on that lap, a 24.946 in race conditions is pretty impressive. Woo.
Oh, McDonnell very wide on, he's off.
Wide. Yep.
Right out into the gravel.
Oh,
he's made the wall.
Oh, what a shame for McDonnell. He was already getting huge damage on his car before that point. We'll go to a cut price replay of that. On board with Jordan McDonnell. Wow. That was a real shame for him. He just overcooked it into turn 1, ran out of front grip, and then over the gravel, nothing he could do. Just straight into the wall, and that is pretty much any chance he had at a podium over.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate as well. And the damage is actually going to hamper him as well, and it's going to allow Burgess and Shepherd and the rest of the guys to catch up, actually. Yeah,
certainly will. Meanwhile, we're looking at Lewis Kugeley at the moment, who is in pursuit of Lance Perkins. It looks like Lance Perkins got by Kugeley earlier on in the lap, so remains to be seen whether Kugeley will try and come back at him, as we see them going through MG, where a lot of tyre marks have been left by locking front rights.
Yes, indeed, and McDonnell is actually coming to pit lane, so I'd say his race is unfortunately over by the looks of it.
Real shame. Well, back live, having just seen a cut price replay of the Kugeley-Perkins pass. Looks like Lewis is trying to come back on Lance here, coming into turn 1, flat out through turn 1 in the draft. Both keeping their lines nice and steady through Southern Loop. Ooh.
Oh, that was very close to looping it there. Very easy to do, actually, if you drop a wheel on the outside there. So you kind of have to be careful if you get into the dirt, actually.
Yeah, you certainly do, because you're coming off Southern Loop and the right side tyres have just been unloaded as you set the wheel back straight. So you really have to be wary of how much grip is available to you at that point in time. Sort of make sure not to go too far to the right. But Kugeley now back in the draft of Perkins coming through the back half of the track. He holds back through Lukey. And just ahead of them, they've got Shepherd and Burgess. So who knows? This might become a train soon as Kugeley goes into the pits. That's a very bizarre decision. Might he have damage? Or under fuel.
Might be fuel, maybe.
Yeah. Might have been a classic case of putting qualifying fuel in the car. Oh, and he's... Oh. He just stopped and got going again. I think it was a fast repair. So obviously Kugeley had some kind of damage on that car that we couldn't see. So we go to an onboard with Dylan Shepherd as he tries to chase down Chris Burgess. Through Siberia, the turn that gets banked more and more the further you go inside. So these guys are currently on lap 15 out of 25. So, hold on a minute. A caution flag.
An interesting reason.
Is that a competition caution, I wonder?
I don't remember seeing one in the PN.
Well, that's bizarre, because if any incidents deserved a safety car, they were more towards the start of the race, so I'm not quite sure what's going on here. It'd have to be either a random caution or a competition caution, so... Now the field is going to line up behind the safety car. So Riley Blythe has had his 2-second lead of the race completely diminished now, and I guess Josh Burden will be very happy with this competition caution, because it means he can have a second chance at trying to take the win.
Yeah, definitely. It's also going to mean that these guys are probably going to be a little bit... Well, the tyres are going to be a little bit better condition as well from cooling down a little bit, so it's going to be... Oh, there is going to be a competition caution, actually, so it's not due to an accident. But yeah, as I was saying before, it's quite interesting how this is going to play out for all these guys because of the restart and with the tyres, of the fact they've been running on them for so long. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens on this restart.
Yeah, I don't think we've actually had a safety car all season in this series, so this is completely new for everybody, the drivers and ourselves up here in the broadcast booth. Well, we get some confirmation in the broadcast chat from Griffin Gardner that Jordan indeed has deemed this a competition caution, so there we go, confirmation.
He did say at the start of the night as well. I actually didn't hear that, so bit of a confusion there for me. But now that I know, we are pretty much now on the same page as far as what's happening on the race.
We certainly are. Well, the lights are still on the safety car, so I would imagine that this lap coming will be the safety car's in lap, and we'll go racing at the end of lap 18.
Yeah, I'd say so. The next lap will probably be 1 to go, I'd say.
Otherwise, we'll be Dylan Shepherd faking a pit entry.
It's not over racing. Come on, boys.
not really needed. It's funny though. So as we come across the start-finish line, are the safety car lights going to go out? Yes, they are. Thank goodness for that. Otherwise, we'd be here thinking of stuff to talk about for the next 2 minutes.
Yes, indeed. We'll probably have to start getting used to it as well, with the V8 Supercars Premier Online Series not too far away from Maduras, actually, at Phillip Island. So that'll be very good to see when that comes along in the next few weeks.
Yeah, certainly will. Coming up to Enduro's season for V8 Scops, of course, the marquee events of the season. So now we got to remember, the pit entry at Phillip Island is far before the start-finish line. So once the field comes under the control of Riley Blythe, I would assume that he can go at any point he pleases once the safety car has entered the pits. So the other drivers are really going to have to be on their toes.
Yeah, definitely. They're going to have to make sure they're on, well, pretty much right on Riley's gearbox to make sure they don't lose out on the restart. At the moment, just looking like it's a little bit spread out, primarily due to the fact they're still under safety car. But once they get near the end of the lap, I'd say they're going to be right on it, as they're going to be starting to close up to each other by the looks of it.
Yeah, indeed they will. We've got a few drivers weaving now to try and get some heat back into their tyres. So this is going to be an out-and-out sprint to the end. 7 laps of racing to go once they cross the start-finish line here.
Indeed, it will be, and it will be very action-packed, I'd say. As
Yep,
the safety car comes in.
Now it's up to Riley Blythe as to when he goes. And it looks like he's already gone in the middle of the last turn.
So good jump by the looks of it there on Burden, but McLeod's also got a good jump on Burden here, and Shepherd's actually managed to get alongside Chris Burgess in the background.
Yeah, so they're going to go side by side into turn 1. It looks like Shepherd's just gotten by him or thereabouts.
Yes, he's done it around the outside and managed to get it done.
Excellent stuff. Well, now the top 3 is sandwiched back together. It looks like Josh Burden was just able to gain a bit more on Riley Blythe through turn 1 and into turn 2. Oh, big crash back in the field. That's Mark Turner there going off in Southern Loop. Now they're jostling for position down at the hairpin. Looks like Jordan McDonald up Brody Whitmore.
Contact. I think not quite, maybe. No, there was actually between Lance Perkins and Chris Burgess, I believe.
Yep, Perkins has just got back going.
Now McDonnell's coming under attack here through Hayshed from Brody Whitmore.
Yep, they're getting very close.
Brody having a few internet issues by the looks of it with a little bit of blinking.
Big trainer cars. Lance Perkins getting very crossed up just ahead of them. Will McDonald get past him? They've got a fair gap to Chris Burgess. So now the cars come streaming down the front straight for the second time in this phase of the race.
I was going to try and move on Perkins here, and he's got it done. Looks like Kugley's got a move done on Whitmore as well.
Indeed he has. So we've got drivers moving up from unfortunate positions earlier on in the race, and it looks like Burden has latched onto the back of Blythe once again. So now we're seeing Mitch McLeod almost outbraking himself there. So this top 4 here, very close. It looks like Dylan Shepherd is starting to make some gains on James Keane. Oh, Shepherd's round!
Oh!
Huge spin from Shepherd, and wow, I think that might have damaged his car a little bit.
Yeah, it probably has. He's just managed to mount the banking there, so that's probably going to put a little bit of rear suspension damage, possibly. Maybe if he's lucky enough, he won't actually have any apart from a bit of wing damage.
You're watching a cut price replay of Dylan Shepherd's spin. Just a fairly typical run-of-the-mill. A little bit too much throttle too early. Rear end broke free, and it just wasn't able to be recovered.
Yeah,
back alive, though. Have a look at the front 3. Burden and McLeod really monstering the back of Riley Blythe here.
Yeah, it's very close, as Kugley's managed to get past Perkins as well, further back by the looks of it.
Looks like we've only got a few laps to go here. 5 to go at the present time, so the laps are ticking away. Time is running out for these drivers to make moves. Josh Burden having a look up the inside of Riley Blythe, just not quite committing to the move, though. Of course, he doesn't need to early. Kugley, meanwhile, just got passed by Jordan McDonald.
And Brody Whitmore's possibly going to try to get past Lance Perkins here
McDonald
around the outside barrier.
Hello. Goodness me.
No, Whitmore's actually managed to hold on.
Have a look at McDonald and Kugeley, though. McDonald's got a good run on Kugeley here. They're going to go side by side through Hayshed. Just was able to get in that little bit of a slipstream. Oh, round the outside into Lukey. Oh, awesome racing from these guys. Is Kugeley going to come back?
Up the inside.
McDonald just leaving enough room on the inside. Great move.
And it's backed up this field a little bit as well, so it's even closer now. So Whitmore could possibly get a move done.
Yep, oh, have a look at McDonald, though. He is really wanting to get past Kugeley here. He's got a little bit of a run. Kugeley's, sticking to the inside. They make a bit of contact. So McDonald is now side by side with Kugeley down the front straight. Neither of them will want to give an inch. They're both
here. Side by side.
Is McDonald going to hold it? Oh, Kugeley just a little bit more courageous on the brakes. Holding the move, but with front three, though, still stuck together like glue.
Definitely, they've closed right up now. This is going to be one heck of a finish. It's going to be now. Don't lead on the last lap.
Kugeley on McDonald once again into the hairpin. Has he overshot it? Is McDonald going to try and come back on him? It looks like Kugeley can hold it. But have a look at the train behind them. Kugeley and McDonald are the cork in the bottle here.
It's going to be all on in these last few laps, I reckon.
Yep, have a look at Brody Whitmore. He's wanted to get past Jordan McDonald. Twitching around.
Something else happened behind.
Perkins
and Kurt Stenberg side by side through Lugie.
Oh,
it's on his contact!
Ah, they locked wheels. What a shame. Got a cut price replay coming up. On board from Kurt Stenberg live, but now we'll get another angle of the incident. It looks like Perkins just turned in not knowing that Stenberg was still alongside him. That's a shame.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Well, meanwhile, back up the front.
It's going to be looking to make a move on Kugeley here. They're going at it again at turn one, and McDonald's going to hold it. Yes.
We are back live, though. Have a look at Kugeley. Goodness me. Any wonder he didn't go right into the back of McDonald into Southern Loop. Burden, meanwhile, up the front, right there with Blythe. Looks like McLeod fell off a little bit, but now he's right back in it with these guys. We've got about 2.5 laps to go.
Back up the inside again.
Oh, my Lord. These guys are not
like
stopping
lap.
Yeah.
No,
They do realise that there's 2.5 laps to go, right?
I hope so. I think it's going to be who's going to be blinking in the next lap or so with those two.
Certainly will, but back up the front, though. Looking really good. Oh, I'm just seeing a move back here. James McKee, Braden Bateman, and Kurt Stenberg really battling hard. Bateman almost got alongside Stenberg. Oh, running wide in the background. Just struggling for any form of grip in this last stage of the race.
We could have a move for the lead here as Brennan's going to go to the outside as they head down the front.
Oh, here we go. Is it going to happen?
And it's going to be close. They're going to go side by side through turn one. He's going to hold it around the outside, but not quite.
Burden just does not have the front grip on the outside there that he needs. Meanwhile, Whitmore has crashed. What on earth happened there? He's gone into the pits at the end of that lap. It doesn't... Or did he crash earlier on?
No, just
straight into the pits. Yeah, that's odd. Well, he's back out, though, but we're looking at Josh Burden once again, chasing down Riley Blythe for the top spot. Two to go now.
Burden's going to want to make sure he gets as good of a run out of MG, because if he can, then the move is on into turn one, and he could possibly very well win this race.
He certainly could. As they come through Lukey. The thing is, like, Josh Burden has just been on the outside of turn one the entire time. I think if he were able to get on the inside of turn one, then he might be able to get that move done. Looks like he's just hanging back at the front, at the start of the front straight, sorry. And now he's really timing the draft here. He's got McLeod behind him, Blythe in front of him. It is the last lap. The white flag is now out. Is Burden going to be able to get the move done on Blythe here? I don't think he'll be up in time.
Southern Loop.
McLeod, meanwhile, fastest lap of the race at 24.808, but this top three, any of these three drivers could win this.
Yeah, indeed. It's going to be very close to say coming to
Oh, McDonald and Kugli again.
Going at it once again. It's the last lap, and Kugli's ahead, but they're coming down towards the hairpin.
Oh, Burden up the inside.
Oh, Burden's up the inside. It's going to go side by side at the hairpin. Who's he going to do? He's done it. Oh, his wife's going to try and come back up the inside at Siberia.
Yep, he is. Burden sees him coming. Burden sees him coming, gives him room, but he's going to have the traction.
Oh, that's very close.
Side by side. McLeod, have a look at McLeod. He's going to try and take advantage of it. He's got a double draft.
Side by side.
Oh, they're going to go side by side.
He's going to hold it around the outside, but no, he's going to get ahead.
Burden's going to yield. He's going to try and go again. Oh, McLeod once again. But now,
here we go.
Yep, the draft. If Burden can just stay a little bit closer to Blythe, he might be able to draft past him before the start-finish line. I don't know if he can do it, though.
It's going to be close. Here we go. Drag race to the line.
Up, out of the first turn they go. Have a look at the run Burden's getting. Blythe is going to try and
move. Oh, it's not going to be so
close, but Blythe wins it. Brilliant. 600ths of a second.
Kugli's fallen back. Oh, Stenberg's going to be a drag race to the line with...
Oh, I'm just getting a replay of Kugli. It looks like he came together with McDonald at MG. So, what on earth happened with... Oh, looks like it might have happened earlier on. Kugli had a bit of damage on his front wing. Looped it at MG, unfortunately, on the cut price replay, but... Wow, what a finish, Cam!
I know, I can't believe it either. That was awesome.
That was absolutely brilliant racing from the top three. Nice and clean. It was super aggressive, but it didn't end in tears. That's what we want to see. Fantastic.
Absolutely. Just... out into the race course. Exactly what we want to see.
Incredible race here at Phillip Island today in the New Zealand and Australian iRacing Formula Renault 2.0 Championship. Results on the screen. Riley Blythe taking victory by a mere 600ths of a second from Josh Burden. Mitch McLeod not too far behind either, completing the podium. James Keane is going to come home a very strong fourth, with Chris Burgess in fifth. Jordan McDonnell is going to finish in sixth place. Kurt Stenberg just behind him, with James McKee, Lewis Kugli, and Braden Bateman completing the top 10.
Then from 11th to 20th, we have Dylan Shepherd. Then we go back to Jamie McKnight, Benny Gill, Lance Perkins, Aaron Wilton rounding out the top 15. Brody Whitmore in 16th. 17th, we go to Joseph Falcamato, unfortunately let down. Mark Turner also lapped down in 18th. 19th will go to Tommy Harrody, unfortunately DNFing. And then we go back to the rest of the field. AJ Bear, Harley Haber, Hunter McElroy, Bo Albert, Griffin Gardner, Fulter Penny, and then Nick Craddock.
So that was your field for round 5. Unfortunately, our broadcast director's computer is about to die, so we won't be able to do any driver interviews for this round. It would have been great to hear what those top 3 thought about it, though. Cam, thanks for joining me tonight. An absolutely fantastic race, to be sure.
Yeah, definitely. And absolutely awesome race and awesome night of racing, to be honest, though. That's just exactly what you want to see in any sort of race, with it being that close. So, yeah, props to the boys on providing such an awesome race, and hopefully the next round is just as good, if not better.
Yep, certainly. Yep, I hope so too. The next round of the championship is going to be at Alton Park on the 23rd of August, so be sure to join us for that. Also join us tomorrow night for Thursday night IMSA. You've been watching the New Zealand and Australian iRacing Formula Renault 2.0 Championship presented by V8s Online. We'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us.